What's up, Rapport family? We are back with another great edition of Building Rapport. Special guest joining me, former Auburn quarterback, current Auburn color commentator, and general manager of NIL Auburn for On to Victory. Jason Campbell joins me to talk a little bit about the state of college football. Jason, let's jump right in here. It's been 20 years since 2004 Auburn went undefeated and got left out of the national title. We all know how it played out. USC blew out Oklahoma. You guys beat Virginia Tech in the Sugar Bowl. I remember it vividly. I remember a lot of things from that season very vividly. Let's start talking a little bit about how college football has changed since then. I mean, 2004 Auburn is the reason no other SEC team got left out, right? Like, I mean, I would say LSU had a chance to be the first two-loss champion because of what happened to 2004 Auburn. How's the game changed, man, since you were a player?
Yeah, the game's changed a lot. When you think about it as a whole, it's so much transfer portal now. You have the name, image, and likeness, the NIL aspect of it. And I remember back when I played, someone couldn't even buy you a hamburger.
Yeah, for sure.
You get in trouble. So, a lot has changed. But you think about the 2004 season. I always tell my former teammates is we did something special, but something to be known for a long, long time. And because up to that point, it was the BCS system. And, you have to, everything was by computers. So you was voted by computers, and then you had a coaches poll. But based off playing a championship game, it was based off the numbers that you get on the computer system. So after we went undefeated, Oklahoma undefeated, USC undefeated, Utah was undefeated as well that year under Urban Meyer. And when you play the schedule that we played, which was the toughest schedule of the four, you would automatically think that an SEC school would be playing in a national championship. And that wasn't the case. But when we won against Tennessee in the SEC championship, we had to beat a team twice. It's hard to do in a year. And when we did that, to beat a Philip Former coach team, who's one of the respected coaches at the time, we knew we had to finish. So to me, the biggest difference between kids nowadays than us is the importance of finishing. And we wanted to stay locked in. What would it matter if we went 12-0, but then we don't play in the Sugar Bowl and we lose, and you 12-1. Now you're not remembered as one of the greatest teams to ever come through Auburn, first 13-0 team. So the finish was important. We had to lock in because honestly, after we won the SEC championship and then we found out we wasn't in the national championship, some guys had mentally was disappointed. So they kind of checked out a little bit. But immediately when we got to New Orleans, as a senior group, we all rallied our younger guys and said, look, guys, we didn't come this far to let this opportunity slip through our hands. And you got to love this game. You got to love the experience, the opportunity to be able to tell your grandkids one day that, hey, your pawpaw played in this game and we played on an undefeated season. If you go 12-1, you can't say that. So
my teams went 12-1.
Went 12-1. So we knew in order to be remembered and do something that hasn't been done up to that point at Auburn, it was important, man, that we locked in and we took the Virginia Tech game serious because that was a team to be reckoned with. Like, they was well coached, Frank Beamer's team, and top 10 team as well, ACC champs, and almost beat USC and everything. So
they probably should have won that game.
Probably should have won that game, So we was playing a team that they were one game away from being in the same conversation we were in. So I just say for us now, finishing was a big deal back in those days when guys played in bowl games, where nowadays, I understand, it's a lot at risk if you're a high draft pick and everything, but a lot of it to me just feels like, man, if sometimes do the risk outweigh the reward?
Well, let's talk about that for a second, right? You're talking about finishing. Part of the way you finished was you started your career at Auburn and you ended your career at Auburn. Now the transfer portal has allowed kids the opportunity to maybe explore other opportunities, right? Does Jason Campbell finish his career at Auburn Tiger if the transfer portal exists back then as it does today?
I would say yes.
You think you stick it out?
I think I stick it out.
You lost your job to Daniel Cobb.
Yeah, but that's part of life.
Okay.
My dad raised me, man, my mom and dad together, understanding that my dad was a coach in high school. So there came a time that when I was a young pup that people said I only played because my dad was the head coach when I was like a ninth grader, because I started as a ninth grader.
Yeah, I remember.
And I remember telling my parents, like, no, I'll prove to people I'm playing because I belong to be out there, because I'm going to outwork everybody.
Right.
So I was used to being like having to go through some doubts or go through, some noise and everything. So when I got to Auburn, I was ranked the number 2 quarterback in the nation coming out of high school.
Weren't you the Gatorade player of the year?
Yes, I was Gatorade player of the year, and one of the highest 3 Auburn recruits at the time to come here. And at the time, you redshirt. You're used to playing and being the guy.
That was a Tuberville way, right? You come in, and unless you're him, you redshirt.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of our class redshirt, except for Carlos Dansby, Spencer Johnson, and Marcus White.
Lack came in your class too, didn't he?
Well, he came in because we redshirt. He came as a true freshman.
Okay.
Played with us. So most of us redshirted. Where kids nowadays, they redshirted and they feel deflated because they think, they're used to everyone patting them on the back and say, hey, great game, you did this and did that. And now all of a sudden you're having to kind of recharge yourself, for an example, to say, man, like, no one's patting me on the back. I'm walking down after the game, everyone's patting everybody else on the back. I'm a red shirt.
Well, in high school, you're that dude.
Right.
Right. And then when you get to college, it's nothing but them dudes from their high school.
Right.
Right. So you went from maybe being special to being just one in the line of many that got recruited here. Again, you mentioned you were one of the highest rated quarterbacks that Auburn had ever recruited. And I want to stick here for a second because Auburn is currently going through kind of like a quarterback renovation.
Yeah.
You were at the bowl game calling it as a color commentator. I was there covering it. Payne Thorne has not played up to expectations. I think it's fair to say. And you have your third string quarterback come off the bench and look like a seasoned veteran to some extent. Now, obviously, it's a small sample size. It's only one game. But again, your experience, well, you said you would stick it out. How hard is it for kids when they get that type of opportunity? If you're Hank Brown, you think you've earned the opportunity to really fight for the starting job.
And the reason I say I would stick it out is because I was still young.
Yeah.
And my redshirt freshman year, you're almost like, you got to forget whatever star you was in high school. When you get to college, you got to basically get yourself back going again and reestablish yourself at the college level. You can't come to college and try to live off what you did in high school.
Fair enough.
That's great, but now you need to take it to another level when you get here.
Wasn't Cobb a junior college transfer?
Yeah, he was a junior college transfer. He came in, Rudy Johnson.
So you came in a freshman, highly talented freshman.
Yep.
He comes in, you go through some struggles. Now, we know the story. You had different offensive coordinator every year. I mean, Petrino came in and he was gone. And then there was the Knowles-Minger offense that didn't do so hot, right? And then Al Borges comes in your senior year. And you went from being on nobody's radar to being a first-round draft pick, right? But the journey from freshman year to first-round draft pick was filled with ups and downs. Again, what are you saying to a kid now to get him to believe that in the 4th year, he's still going to have a shot, let alone play himself into the first round?
Well, you got to look at the overall thing. The overall was, we played in the SEC, and I had a lot of good games, and some of the games would get overshadowed because I had really good running backs too. And sometimes they would get the attention, but when Coach Borges came in, he was just like, I don't know what all the noise is about. He said,
still one of the most talented teams
played
ever
good.
had.
Yeah, he was just like, you guys just not in position where everybody talent is getting the opportunity to show itself.
Sure.
And that's what he did. He knew how to it's just like, man, everyone think they can be an artist or can paint art. But you have to know from the beginning what the end's supposed to look like. That's what Coach Borges was good at.
Yeah.
He knew how to take the beginning and set things up in the 4th quarter because he knew what it was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
That's an art and a talent. Petrino was that way a little bit as well. My sophomore year, we had a really good sophomore year. We was 3 plays away from probably being 12-1 that year, 11-1. But those guys knew how to be an art and get the best out of you. It was a challenge thing, and I think. But we learned our most was through our obstacles, not through our success.
Yeah.
Our 2003 season was supposed to be a top-ranked season because we had a lot of guys coming back from our sophomore year, and our junior class was really good. So we're thinking that we supposed to be the group, but we was immature in a lot of ways and understanding that because you can get used to reading the clippings in the summer.
Yeah.
Preseason ranked number 1, preseason ranked number 2, or number 3, and then all of a sudden you stop grinding maybe like you should have kept grinding.
Is that what happened in 2003?
I just think a lot of it was so new to us. We came on the scene so fast. We beat a good Penn State team, top 10 team in the
Larry Johnson
in the Capital One Bowl.
Yep.
And then you're coming in with all this hype because we have talent. You know what I'm saying? But then people don't realize we lost our offensive coordinator to be a head coach at Louisville. You know, so you're trying to run his same offense, but an offensive coordinator knows what he wants his offense to look like.
Sure.
So, you know, we went through things and we struggled to start the season off and win 5 in a row, and then everyone know we've won the last 2 games of that season. That's where our 04 season started at, was the end of 03. Because we beat Alabama, we beat Wisconsin, and we won all of them in 04.
04 almost didn't happen for a lot of reasons, though, right? Like, I mean, they were trying to get Tuberville out of here. Right. They got busted. They gave him another year. He came back undefeated. And then there was, you know, with all the talent you guys had 4 first-rounders on that team.
Right.
Convincing Ronnie and Cadillac to come back for their senior season. And also convincing them that there would be enough ball to go around.
Right.
You got this star quarterback who wants to throw it, but, you know, you had to demonstrate some humility to play in this offense with them running backs. And then you had one of the most underrated receiver corps, I think, in Auburn history. Devin Oromashidu, Anthony Mix, Ben Obomanu. I mean, those cats were dogs. Courtney Taylor. Oh, Courtney would kill me if he was watching this. I sent him last. But let's talk about leadership for a second. Let me go back to 2003. Because receiver has been a big storyline for Auburn. Heather Dennis from ESPN came in the spring, tweeted out, guys, you need to have some patience with your receivers. They took that personally. They struggled for a lot of reasons, right? So I would not say it was all on them. But from the quarterback perspective, you threw one of the most perfect passes I've ever seen you throw, 2003 versus Ole Miss. Marched the team down the field. There was it's like a wide receiver screen to Ben. He almost takes it to the house, right? You get down there. Eli Manning is the quarterback on the other side of the field. And you drop back and you throw a pass to Ben. I was filming this from the end zone. We all thought he caught it. Mm-hmm. It hit his body, obviously hit the ground, and, you know, it was tragic. As a leader, what do you say to Ben in that moment? What do you say to a guy that is getting beat down for making a mistake? Because you know how it is at Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
You get all the praise, but you take all the blame, too, when it goes wrong. What did you say to Ben in that moment? And what advice would you have for today's quarterbacks on how to support their receivers when everybody's beating down on them?
Yeah, that's a great concept you just said. I think the main thing for us was that's where true brotherhood comes in. You know, that's when you put your arms around your teammate and you build up his confidence when everybody else is trying to put his confidence down. You know, that's true brotherhood. That's, you know, you removing the eyes for we's, you know, and everything. And I think for Ben was always really smart.
Yeah.
And a really...
He's a lawyer now.
Yeah, he's a lawyer now.
Smart.
So he was always strategic. And when he dropped that ball and everything, and I just remember the next couple of days at school, you know, you kind of hear the rumblings, the talking and everything. Yeah. But the one thing he did, man, he came back to practice the next week and he didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Like he came back, he practiced hard, teammates supported him, and we just kept moving forward and just grinding and putting our arms around each other, man, because at the end of the day, the one play doesn't lose you the game.
Right.
Like, people remember the one play because at the moment of when it happened. Yeah. But there's plays in the second and third quarter that maybe we're not in that position that we're able to, you know, finish off a drive here and there. So
was there a moment where you came back to Ben, Jason, and said, I'm coming back to you again?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to stop throwing the ball to you. Be ready the next time it's coming.
Yeah. Ben is one of those guys in the Iron Bowl. You know, Ben had a big game in the Iron Bowl that year. And everything. He has a number of catches. I think he had over 100-some yards. You know, people remember he caught a slant, got hit, and bounced off and ran for about 50 yards for a touchdown. So he was very resilient. If you're going to be an athlete nowadays, you got to have some resiliency about yourself. But you also got to be able to block out the noise and stay focused. I understand now there's a lot of things thrown at these kids, you know, from financial situations,
it's a little different.
From pressure and things. So it's a little different. But to be a great player, And to be a player that's going to sustain yourself, you got to be able to manage all of these qualities. But how you do that? You got to keep your mind focused on the main goal.
Who taught you that though? Who taught Jason Campbell how to master his mind?
Well, growing up, my dad always told me, son, you got to have a vision. You can't just be walking through life or just out here playing a sport, but you don't have a vision of what you want to gain from the sport. What's your purpose within the sport? And then once you find out what's the purpose within the sport, then you got to figure out what does it take for me to achieve.
How do you build that? Yeah,
to achieve that. So what you do, you got to watch the ones that have already gone before you that's done it. You can't be stubborn enough to think that, I know everything, I got this, because everyone's telling you the best thing since you was born. No, great players, great leaders learn from the mistakes of others that come before them, but also they learn their work ethics. And I learned a work ethic when I was young, just being around my brother who played in the SEC, being around my dad who's a coach, but also just watching. I was a student of the game. I watched college football. I watched NFL football. And the biggest thing was being able to accept criticism and be coachable. That's the difference I see nowadays is a kid knows that the transfer portal is at their hand. So if a coach gets onto him or gets on too hard or he's not doing what he's supposed to do, but he just still wants to be on the field, and coach like, well, you're not ready yet. I got to sit you for a little bit. They're not accepting that nowadays. They're looking at that as punishment instead of looking at it as coaches just trying to develop you, but give you time to catch up rather than put you in the fire and you're not ready to be out there with these guys and then you lose your confidence.
Let me ask you this, right? So where is the line for an athlete today in terms of accepting that constructive criticism from their coach or maybe even taking advice? I remember talking to your former teammate, Ben Grubbs. Ben he played defense in high school. He came into Auburn and Null and those guys told him, put on some pounds, switch to offensive line, you can have a long career in the NFL. Ben thought about quitting football when they had that conversation, but he took their advice, and 9 years later, right, he was a pro. I think he's training kids now. He looks great. But the belief in yourself and your vision for what you want versus their advice on what they think you should do. Like how does a player manage that? And I'll give you an example. There were a lot of rumors this year about the staff maybe wanting Robbie Ashford to switch from quarterback to receiver. Yeah. We talked to Robbie directly. He felt like he was a quarterback. He said, I'm going to play quarterback. Nobody's going to tell me I'm not going to be a quarterback. But, where's the line for him? Like, when does he say, okay, I'm going to abandon my dream of playing quarterback to listen to what this other person is telling me, or I'm going to stick with it and I'm out of here, which obviously you transferred.
It all depends on who's telling you that.
Okay.
First and foremost.
Do you believe the person that's telling you?
If I know this person knows how to develop talent. Okay. And I've seen this person develop talent before and I know what they can get out of it. If they're telling me what's my best opportunity to succeed, then I have to be aware and be a listener and probably say, let me give it a try, at least give it a try.
Okay.
So it's not saying you have to do it permanently.
Sure.
You may just give it a try. Look at Cordell Stewart. Look at Antoine Randall. Back in my days, guys that played quarterback, but in the NFL, they played what? Receiver.
Receiver, yeah.
Because they knew longevity where their best bet was going to be at. Because they believe in who the person that was telling them that.
Sure.
So it has to be the right person to pass that type of information on.
Not always the message, but the messenger, right? Okay.
Right. And then from a standpoint of you saying, when you talk about kids nowadays, Carlos Dance became here as a receiver, moved to safety, ended up at linebacker, played 14 years in the league at linebacker.
They told him he was too small to play linebacker going into the NFL. He proved everybody wrong.
So numerous guys have changed positions before, but sometimes, kids nowadays it's too many voices. You have the voices back at home. You have the high school coach, you got the trainer, you got the agent nowadays, you got the, then the coaches. So you got all these voices trying to tell you what to do. And I always tell these kids, surround yourself with people that's not going to be your yes people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that advice.
Yeah, surround yourself with people that's going to be honest with you, but then you got to be honest enough with yourself to be able to receive the criticism, but don't sink in it, but be coachable and learnable to go out and do certain things. I said because if you take it and you don't receive it and you stubborn towards it, then you'll never grow.
Yeah.
But you're going to grow if you want people around you that's going to tell you the truth, because guess what? Like I tell my nephews, or, like my dad told me when I went to the pros, he says, I don't care that you made it to the NFL and you were doing well for yourself financially and everything. He said, if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, I'm going to let you know about it.
Yeah.
He said, I'm not afraid that you're going to cut me off and all that type of stuff, because I have to believe that what I've taught you, that love will overcome any of that, because deep down, I'm telling you the truth because I care about you.
Yeah.
So these kids now got to find out who truly cares about them, who's got their back without trying to gain anything off of them.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
That's the difference nowadays. It's hard for them to differentiate that because they're kids.
The culture at Auburn is something that's special. It meant a lot to me. I know it's meant a lot to you. You even got married to somebody that we met while we were here.
Yeah.
What is your message now to kids coming in considering Auburn? I talked to Trevon Reed. He talked about the recruiting pitch. Like, Auburn is going to love you. Auburn is going to take care of you. Auburn is going to be there for you. What's your message to kids coming into Auburn about why this place is even more special than the next school they're considering?
Well, the thing about Auburn is it's not in a major city, so it's kind of like everything revolves around the college, the university. So when you're here, it's your opportunity to get out and connect with people.
Sure.
I think a lot of times kids miss the connection aspect because they're so focused on themselves. You got to put yourself out there and everything and meet people. You start meeting people, then the connections just start to form. But the one thing that's special about Auburn is, to me, it's just, I remember coming out of high school and I've taken recruiting visits everywhere else. And I remember being here at the Iron Bowl in 1999. And Auburn was playing, and Alabama was ranked high and everything, and I'm talking about they were playing their hearts out. And I think Auburn had a 3-win season that year.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the game. Ronnie was here. We was all here on our recruiting visit. And after that game, everybody was like, it was people tears in their eyes, people crying. I'm talking about
matters a lot.
Yeah, I'm talking about passionate.
Yeah.
And instantly, you just like, okay, I just was at a recruiting visit the week before at another university, and another one the week before that, and both of those teams lost. But it was all kind of crazy words being said, stuff getting thrown.
Yeah.
But here, people were crying and holding each other and everything. So to me, I was just like,
crazy,
that's
dude.
what family do when you go through a crisis, or when you go through heartbreak, or or just they put their arms around you, right? They comfort you. And to me, it just felt like Auburn was a comforting place that you could come and you can feel like family.
For sure.
And I think that's what stuck with me. And I just remember when I came to Auburn, man, just being a part of that, because that to me matters. Everybody can treat you good when everything is going great, but how you gonna treat me when my back is against the wall, or when things aren't going as good as we wanted to at the time? Are you still gonna be there for me? Are you still gonna support me? Are you still gonna, be that hand put on your back and say, hey man, we got you? That was important. And I think for the most part, that's what makes Auburn special, is once you're here, you gravitate into the family. That's why the Brotherhood with Ronnie, Lack, Carlos, Danny Lindsay's, all these guys. Will Heron, I can name a whole bunch of guys, Rose Green, everybody. But what makes those guys unique and what makes them family is not just the 4 years we're here.
Yeah.
We still share the same love today as we did 20 years ago. We're still on group text messages where we communicate with each other just about life, checking in with each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes we relive the past, but very few times. Most of the time it's, hey man, how your wife doing? How your family doing? What can I do for you? It's that type of stuff which makes us a family, where a lot of universities don't have that. They don't have that strong connection. When they're done with college, they go like this.
That's it. Yeah.
But our guys, man, because we're a special bond to each other, man, and like we really do treat each other like a brotherhood and a family. And that's what makes Auburn Auburn. You know, that's the key.
Let's close talking about incoming freshman Walker White. And the reason why I want to talk about Walker specifically is that he's in a situation similar to what you were in. Highly touted, top 100 player coming in. Bo was a highly touted quarterback. So Walker isn't as highly rated as Bo was, but in terms of Hugh Freeze's first full recruiting cycle, he's going to be looked at as a guy that they're going to want to do what you did. Come in here, take the reins, and be that guy from high school that takes this program to the next level. What advice do you have for Walker, maybe in his first year at Auburn, where he's going to be competing against guys who have a lot more experience than him? And there may be a feeling, even from a staff perspective, that, look, your time will come, you just wait your turn, right? Does he go after it now, or does he wait his turn? Like, how does he look at this in year one?
You're a competitor, right?
Yeah.
So day one when I get here, I'm competing to play. I make the decision to be the coach's decision, but I want to make it as hard as possible for you not to play me. When I came in, it was a little different because when I came in, Ben Lear was already here.
True.
And Ben Lear was a respected starter and everything. So Ben kind of took me under his wings and said, hey, young fella, I'm going to show you the ropes and everything because I know you're going to have an opportunity to do some great things here. So I learned a lot from Ben Lear because how he carried himself, how he was a leader on that football team that led us to the SEC championship against Florida that year. And Ben was a guy that, I could learn from. So it was no reason for me to play that year. We already had a guy that was a full starter that earned the right to be that starter. So for me, I competed against our defense. Running all us, man, we used to give our defense trouble.
You're talking about practice,
yeah, practice. Yeah, we used to give them trouble. All the senior vets and everything. And, we made it our business to try to dominate them in practice if we could. And it made us better because we didn't know it was just preparing us down the road. But you don't ever want to lose your competitiveness. And I think that when Walker comes in here, even Hank, who came in sparingly in the bowl game.
Yep.
This position is not set in stone. No disrespect. Thorne is still working and trying to prove himself.
Sure.
And so it is a real open competition going to the spring. But if you can come in now in January. When I came in back in the day, I came in June. So the chances of me starting was very, very slim regardless because you're coming in June, but then you already have a proven vet in front of you. There was no reason to rush my progress.
Right.
But in their situation, they're here in January. So I get 3 to 4 months to learn and then go out there in the spring and practice 15 times to get better.
Yeah.
And then I have a whole summer to look back at what I learned from the spring to prepare me for a fall camp. And then the fall camp, we're a couple weeks from the game coming up. So you're as good as your opportunity. So with the freshman receivers that this group has coming in, with the running backs that they have, and the offensive line, you guys you have coming back, you can play a young guy if you have to, but it all comes down to it's more than just the ball coming out of your hand. It's more than just, standing in front of the camera and talking. Quarterbacking is all about relationship with my teammates, get my teammates to believe in me, but then also being there for my teammates even when their back is against the wall. And I ain't talking about just offense. I'm talking about offense, defense, special teams. A quarterback should know every person on the roster. He should communicate with every person on the roster. That's being a quarterback because you are the leader and you want those guys to believe in you, but you got to put your arm around them sometimes. You got to build up your teammates. And sometimes that means taking the L publicly, even if you know it wasn't your fault. Your teammate going to see that.
Yeah.
Fans may get on to you and say, oh, man, what are you doing? You messed this up. They don't know that he ran the wrong route. They don't know if he made a mistake. They don't know if I made the wrong read. They don't know who made the wrong read or who made it.
That's true.
But quarterbacks, you have to take the L for your teammates to get them to follow you and believe in you. Because why? they see what you did for them publicly, man, they're going to ball out for you on the football field.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Jason, before we get out of here, I do have a couple more questions. You played with some great guys, and our listeners would be remiss if they'd be sad if I didn't ask the question. Who's the bigger diva? Was it Cadillac or was it Ronnie? Both those guys thought they were pretty good at football.
Man, divas. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was our cornerbacks.
No, Carlos.
Carlos and Rose Green.
I knew Rose Green
because
I knew Rose Green.
It came to the whole dress code thing. Who can outdress who? Rose Green from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Miami,
the chain, the gold, the everything. Carlos from Augusta, Georgia, and it's always the DBs that think they're the fastest, and think they're the most athletic. They talk the most.
Yeah, for sure.
Ronnie and Cadillac didn't do a whole lot of talking. Now in the game, they'll give you a little business and say something to you and everything, and everything. But the DBs talk more than anybody. It was always trash talking in practice. Mm-hmm. Like Courtney loved to go against Carlos in one-on-one.
Courtney was the biggest trash talker I think I've ever known.
Yeah, Courtney was the Chris Tucker here. That's his lookalike too.
I'm sending this clip to him.
That was the Chris Tucker here on this team.
Sure.
Like Courtney talked a lot. We had guys that was just, man, we competed, man. Yeah. We pushed each other in practice. We just win on Saturdays in Jordan Hare just because we just showed up and played. It's what we did during the week. We pushed each other. We practiced hard, and you win your games in the week and how you prepare, your preparation.
Talk about preparation for a second, and this is going to be kind of like our building rapport after hours, right? Like 2-a-days isn't what it used to be. Okay, let me take you back here for a second, right? At a point during 2-a-days, we would go down to the intramural fields. They would line up. It'd be offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, running backs, and you. You were the only one that was live. They could hit you, or they could hit everybody else. And every 2-a-days, Tuberville, we're gonna run this drill till somebody pass out or throw up, and a fight would break out, and it was heated. It was literally just hit somebody.
Oh yeah.
It's literally illegal to do that now. Like you can't. The hours are limited. Like how do you make men into boys today when you can't put them through some of the things that you went through when you were a player?
Yeah, it's tough because there's so many. Practice is limited.
It's very limited.
It's limited. There's no 2-a-days. You had the 1-a-days and then you had the walk-through days and everything, which is they're trying to do that for longevity, health-wise. On the body.
How important was that, do you think, maybe to the toughness
it's hard
of that team?
If you can't assimilate something in practice, then it's hard to assimilate it in the game until you play 4 or 5 games. Sure. That's why I always say there's no reason to be ranking teams in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
After the first 4 games of the season is when the rankings should come out because now you have enough footage to see what guys are doing and everything. And because that first game, man, that's really like your first real live contact. Like you would try to simulate as much as you can in practice, but you trying to do what now? Keep your guys healthy.
Yeah.
You don't get someone hurt, but man, back when we played, man, no one was worried about getting hurt. It was about once you got in the locker room, who had the upper hand and noise talking because who got outdid on the practice field. It's just like offense versus defense. We're in 2004 in the season.
Yeah.
And we would have goal line live drills.
Yeah. Huh?
Ones versus ones. And we're in the middle of the season. And guess what? No one got hurt.
Nobody got hurt. Yeah.
But it helped us in game day because mentally we pushed each other. So we went against our defense. We were going to face a defense like our defense. When they went against our offense, they wasn't going to face an offense like our offense.
Yeah.
So in order for us to prepare, sometimes it was going against each other. Yes, we had scout team and all that, but most of the time when we did 7-on-7, sometimes we would say, okay, we're doing short yardage and red zone 7-on-7, but we're gonna do live plays. What I mean by that is one defense versus one offense.
Yeah.
And because you want to see what? Read and
best
react.
on best.
Yeah, read and react. I don't want you looking at no card all the time and just thinking they're going to do what's on the card all the time. Guess what? Coaches, they coach. They know how to game plan. They're going to do something different. But if you know how to read and react, knowing your keys. So we did that so the coaches could know if we knew what we was doing and knew our keys and not just basing it off because we know what their defense is supposed to do because they looked at the card. But we have to read and react and respond.
Jason, give me a quarterback's perspective on something that we hear fans say a lot. You hear fans say, if you get your hands on it, you got to catch it. Receivers. Now, like I know, ball placement is important if you're a quarterback, right? What is the relationship between quarterback and receiver as it pertains to those details in the throw? Right? Like, you practice it a certain way. The receiver's expecting the ball in a certain place based on the route. What does it do to a relationship between a quarterback and a receiver if maybe you're off, right, in terms of ball placement and they're bailing you out a lot, right? Like, does it affect a receiver negatively to not have the ball consistently where they're expecting it? Or, as a quarterback, how does it affect you if you can't trust the receiver is supposed to be where they're going to be before you throw the ball? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for a quarterback, you want to be as accurate as possible.
Sure.
But that's impossible to be accurate all the time. So you want a receiver that's just going to be a dog. Man, just get the ball around me, I'm going to catch it. You like that type of mentality. Even though, as a quarterback, I want to make it easier on you catching the ball because I want to put it where you can get yards after the catch.
After the catch, right.
Because that's what's more important. But as a quarterback, what I look for in my receivers is, one, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. That's the most important thing. Because if we have a certain play call against the coverage, and you may be number 3 in the progression, if I'm working 1 and 2, when I come back to 3, I'm bringing my eyes first, and that ball is coming out. But if I bring my eyes and you're not there, I'm not trusting you because you're not where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. So, and when it comes for a receiver to a quarterback, the receiver wants what? The quarterback to trust him. I don't have to be wide open for you to throw me the ball.
Yeah.
If you got that dog in you and you say, hey, the game's on the line or you can depend on me. If I'm one-on-one, my job as a receiver is to win the one-on-one matchup.
Yeah.
That's my job. If I can't win the one-on-one matchup, I don't need to be on the football field.
True.
So you're supposed to win your one-on-one matchup. You should have to make them double team you for them to try to have to stop you. And at that point in time, you still mentally think that you can't be stopped. But as a quarterback, though, you want those type of guys that, hey, just get the ball to me or get up around me. And they also protect you. You throw a bad ball that they going to say, oh, it's about to be picked. They know how to break it up and protect you. But as a quarterback, though, man, I think it's just giving your guys opportunities, but knowing when to give your guys opportunity. Not just throw it just to be throwing it, but knowing when to give those opportunities and have the trust that your guy is better than their guy. And then it is just quarterbacking, man. Quarterbacking come always down to determination, will, grit, because your teammates see how you respond when things aren't well.
Yeah.
They want to know, are you still going to be the same guy that's going to pick everybody up? Are you still going to be the same guy to get everybody going and still get us in the right play? You may play horrible for 2 quarters or horrible for 3 quarters, but in the 4th quarter, they still can depend on you because they know you're going to come through. That's quarterbacking. If they see you in a point where you don't respond well to things when they aren't going well, then they're looking to follow somebody else. And so you don't want to give them a reason to follow somebody else. So you got to be consistently the same person, good, bad, ugly. You got to be the same person driving, pulling those guys together, getting them on the same page with you because you can't be wishy-washy. Oh, man, y'all doing great from today. But then the next minute, you just dogging them and everything. Sometimes you got to take it on the chin as a quarterback, man. That's the best thing about leadership and being in that position.
Responsibility. I mean, you said it earlier, and I'll close with this. Your dad played an instrumental role in who you became as a man and ultimately you becoming the type of player you knew you could be. As somebody who's had my dad in my life, all my life, I can tell you that the lessons that he taught me, certainly helped get me to, where I am today. Every success I had in business, I can point back to a lesson my dad taught me, when I was a kid coming up and say, hey, listen, he might have thought I wasn't listening, but I was listening, and it helped me later in life. Hopefully what's happening with Auburn football now is that they're finding those same mentors these young guys are. If they haven't had them at home, they find them here at Auburn football. Jason, I want to thank you, man, for taking some time to talk to me a little bit about what's going on with Auburn football. I know you're working with On to Victory now, so if you're watching this, go and donate to On to Victory. And Jason, those guys could use your help. Guys, that's it for another great edition of Building Rapport with my guy, Jason Campbell. If you want more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. We are The War Report on every social media platform, TW Report on TikTok. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.